It's not often, friends, that I personally invite someone back who I've interviewed. It does happen on occasion, but not often. But today is one of those moments. Dr. Bob Wenz was with us a few months ago, and if you saw that interview, I'm sure you were deeply moved, as I was, by what he had to say. And this is his book, Navigating Your Perfect Storm, a terrific book. But here's a man with vast ministry experience who is not only a teacher at a seminary, but also was formerly the vice president of the National Association of Evangelicals in the US of A. He's founded his own ministry. I'll give you that website a little later in the show. But he's had a vast ministry experience, and he's dying. He has a lung disorder that is deteriorating, and he is living on borrowed time. And yet he has this positive approach to life, and I wanted to sit down with this man and spend a series of at least 3 interviews, all of which you'll see over the next few weeks, few months, talking about life from his perspective as someone who is facing the end. And to add insult to injury, since our last interview, he's had a heart attack. I'm amazed you're here, Bob. How are you feeling?
I'm great.
You look great. Your eyes are sparkling.
I feel good.
Yeah.
It was a very mild heart attack.
A mild heart attack.
In
yeah.
fact, he said you could have 10 of these and really not do any damage to your heart. So,
you said to me off air something that I found rather humorous. You said that you were actually in very good shape to have a heart attack.
Well, yeah, I'd had some heart issues a year before and had a stent put in, and I had gone through months of cardiotherapy. I went on a vegan diet, got my cholesterol down to 110, and then I had a heart attack. I joked with my wife I should have been eating pizza and cheeseburgers all that time.
For all the vegan did for you.
Yeah.
I want to talk to you about life, Bob. And I don't have any script here. I just know that it's very seldom that anyone has an opportunity to talk with someone who's looking back on his life and saying, I don't have long to live. And you've got to have a perspective that many people just simply do not have. I mean, any of us could die tomorrow. My own son-in-law died just suddenly a few months ago, as you know. And from one minute to the next, he's alive, then he's gone. But very few of us have the opportunity of preparing to die the way that you have. So I just want to ask you a lot of questions. So kind of sitting down to learn from you. The first thing I want to ask you, has your perspective or your view of God been altered or changed at all since you received this diagnosis? Do you communicate with him in a different way, or is it business as usual?
I don't think it can ever be business as usual.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I processed in the book is the different God distortions that each of us have. Oh. And for me, I classify myself as a depressive. Depressives are people who have kind of a God is distant, God is a judge, God is not loving and intimate. And a lot of it has to do with your upbringing, your projections of your earthly father onto your heavenly father. And I spent 1 hour alone with my father, my earthly father, in my entire life. I'm one of 6 kids.
Hang on. 1 hour in your entire life?
1 hour in my entire life. Alone with my father. Just one, mano a mano. Just the 2 of us.
Now, was this an accident that this happened?
No. He was dying.
Right.
He had cancer. He was 51 years old.
Right.
And he knew he had a very short period of time, and he asked each of his kids to spend an afternoon with him and threw everybody else out of the house. And so we each had our afternoon with my dad. And it was the only hour I ever remember spending with him alone, because I was the youngest of 6 kids. My twin brother and I were always together, and so it was always with a group. I spent a lot of time with my dad. We played golf almost every weekend. We did a lot of things as groups with 2 or 3 brothers, and so it was not without time with him, although he worked about 80 hours a week. He just did not have a one-on-one intimate relationship with each of his children.
So what did you talk about?
I don't recall a lot of it.
How old were you?
16. Not a lot of life experience. And I remember when my father died, it was on my 17th birthday. And I thought, well, he'd lived a good long life. He's 52.
Huh.
See things differently at that age, don't you?
Now, no kidding. With 1 hour of intimate conversation with your dad in your entire life, how did this impact your view of God as your Heavenly Father?
Well, I have always loved praying with people in groups.
Yeah.
Praying alone by myself has always been a challenge.
Wow.
This breaking through this idea of being one-on-one with my Heavenly Father and having His attention has been a whole new dimension of prayer for me.
So tell me about this. How has this developed?
I'm still learning.
And was it since you were diagnosed with this incurable lung disease? That...
Oh, it's always been a struggle, but now that I'm dealing with some of these life and death kinds of issues, recognizing that I really need to focus on that, I'm having to learn how to pray, and to pray in new levels of intimacy, and to not just pray with kind of going through the motions. Yeah, I know I ought to pray. The now I lay me down to sleep approach to life. And I'm working on it. It's a daily thing.
So if you were to project back, to the years previous to this this diagnosis, would you have lived differently or understood the Lord differently if you knew then what you know now? Or do you think this has just been a part of a process and it's just where you are right now?
Well, I spent 27 years in pastoral ministry.
Right.
And I think one of the things that is so much incumbent upon pastoral ministry is the desire to be successful in ministry, because after all, you're doing kingdom work.
Right.
And it's all about doing something for the king. And again, that's the God distortion that the depressive has. That is, I have to please God.
Right.
I have to do more to earn His favor. And that's different than, I don't have a congregation I shepherd anymore. And it becomes very different in terms of, okay, what am I praying about? I'm not just praying about things that are going to benefit my people, my kingdom, my ministry, my impact, because that doesn't matter anymore. It's now in terms of simply relational. Lord, how are you and I doing? What do you have for me to do today? And not doing it in terms of a very prescribed context of ministry, pastoral ministry.